Hey guys, we're the Hard Time Strongman podcast, sharing up a very class of man. And today we're joined by our It's the second time? Third time coming on?
Yep. Second.
Yeah. Second time.
Wait, is it?
Coming on. Yeah,
I can't
it's
count.
two. I think it's two. Our buddy Chris from Granite Rifle Group. We are here to talk about gunsmithing. The basics, garage, home, gunsmithing, some barriers to entry, some things you can expect, some goals to shoot after, and why gunsmithing is even important. But first, Chris, you want to introduce yourself, your company, your podcast, everything, your associated socials.
So my name is Chris McKagren. I'm the owner of Granite Rifle Group, LLC, a company based out of Morristown, Arizona, which is pretty close to Phoenix, but far enough away to hopefully stay away from the garbage. I also run a podcast called the Delayed Impact Podcast. We talk just about long range shooting and whatnot. I'm also the I don't really know what to call it, but I guess the founder of the Long Range Ambassadors program as well.
Founder, director. How's the company? How's everything since the last time you've been on?
It's been good. It's been good. Finally got some nice weather down here in Arizona. Thank goodness. Strangely enough, with all this wonderful weather, I haven't been out shooting a whole lot, which is extremely counterproductive. Because I know I'm like a lizard man, but I always end up like in the middle of summertime laying down on the hot rocks shooting that way instead of like out when it's really nice out. I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, no, business has been good. I got some cool builds coming up. Dive in a little more into the hunting rifle side of things and kind of go on that route. A more, we'll say I don't want to say traditional bolt action rifle, but just a little more traditional than you think of because most people see the target tactical guns and stuff and they think it's like the coolest sniper rifle thing they've ever seen versus, grandpappy's hunting rifle, which I don't exactly build those either, but they're slightly more along those lines.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about, building those, super niche, match grade rifles versus, something that's been around for, decades and, still works. So I feel like a good middle ground is, a really great, niche or goal to be in.
Yeah. And I definitely try to, blur some of those lines of, especially with the hunting rifle of, everyone's very, very familiar with, Granddad's 30-06 that kicks the crap out of them every time they shoot it. Or, somebody's very, very nice, high-end, extremely lightweight 300 Win Mag that, again, just beats the brakes off you every time you shoot it. And it's no fun to shoot, right? It's a nice gun to carry, but, the whole point of the gun is to shoot it. So, right. I try to build a gun that kind of goes both ways on that. Is it's nice to carry, but at the same time, you actually want to shoot it. And then you actually want to shoot it like in between seasons, not just 3 rounds before hunting season, make sure it's zeroed, and then, maybe one time on the trip, then it goes back in the safe. Like that's not what I want. Right.
Not a 7mm ram mag. Not that.
Yeah, exactly.
Still have trauma from that. Shaking the freaking
you and me
tin
both
off the roof. Idiot. I never even heard that round before. You're like, no, this is it. Like, this is what we're building. Let's go.
Shoot this.
Hey, shoot this. It'll be fine. Bruised.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Don't worry about your shoulder that's now dislocated. Don't worry about it.
Gosh. Well, cool. I was going to say, I've seen a lot of really cool builds coming off the IG. So that's been really fun to see. You just pumping those out.
Well, thank you. I got a couple more coming this way, and it's pretty neat stuff. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So today's episode, we're talking about just, the basics of gunsmithing. So gunsmithing, it's repairing, modifying, designing, or building firearms. So before starting the business, before, building guns for people, how does this really fit into your life, how does this fit into just your I guess your life with guns into your vocation?
No, I don't know. I mean, probably the earliest iteration of this was always, just being bored with the stuff that you had, and then like, let's put this light on it. Let's, do that. And just, some really minor part swaps, where it's really not a big deal, but you're still learning quite a bit. What kind of, we're talking, part compatibility. Like I remember at one point in time, I think I had like key mod rail, and I bought like M-Lock, the little rail section. And I like found a way to just made it work. Right. And it's like, whatever. So, learning those types of lessons. And I believe to this day that light is still attached to that rail. I think I cranked around there pretty good.
I mean, if you crank it down hard enough, it ain't going anywhere.
That's true. You put enough of that blue goo on there and enough elbow grease, then just don't take it too far so it breaks. But
right. So it sounds like you kind of had your introduction to it was kind of similar to mine, where it was just like, I shot 223, 5.56. I shot, 7.62, and it got to the point where it was just like, okay, well, I'm going to experiment with some other calibers. I kind of want to experiment with different barrel lengths. Like you said, I want to try different accessories on here. Like, how can I make this work?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's, I think gunsmithing really comes out of, it comes out of necessity, but like a curious necessity, right? Because unless you, we need guns, right? But it's not like your car. Like something breaks on your car. Oh, I got to get a new alternator, right? You're not experimenting with a new alternator. Just go down to AutoZone, get the one that you need for your car, install it, done, right? Runs, cool, let's go, right? Versus with a gun, you're like, hey, like, what else can I do? So,
right,
you end up kind of in this like kind of creative space where you can, I need to fill this gap. How can I do it? Rather than just, get this. So, same thing like with this rifle, this little 14.5 down here, same thing. It's like, okay, like I need some kind of optical system. What am I going to do with it? Right. Am I going to go red dot route? Am I going to go an LVPO? Am I just going to go irons? Right. I was really wanting to get in. Well, I still have a little bit of a soft spot for like a carry handle. So
of course you do.
And all these, like high rise red dots on carry handle guns and stuff I see on Instagram, they don't help. I see that and I'm like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. So stupid, but so beautiful. So, I've been kind of toying with that idea and whatnot. I got really close to buying one for this, but I didn't. I held off. But so like kind of really having this purpose of why am I doing this? I think it really comes into play when you're thinking about a build of a rifle. Obviously it has to shoot. You need to be able to see, what you're shooting at. But really from that point on, does it need to fill like a super specific task, such as like CQB, right? That's going to be a very different build than say, like a DMR gun. I realize that's a designated marksman rifle gun, but you know what I mean. I feel so dumb every time I say that.
I do. Some of our listeners.
So it's kind of really understanding like the why of what you're doing with it. Right. And if it's just kind of a general purpose gun where hey, I need it to complete, instead of just this one task, it needs to complete all of these tasks. And so then it's kind of going into the evaluation of what kind of components are going to help complete those tasks.
Yeah, you're really looking at least from my experience, when it comes to like, especially in the beginning of assembling an AR and picking parts, it's really form to function. It's like, like you said, what specific task is this rifle supposed to perform? What function is it going to most often, run into? Like you said, Are you doing CQB, so everything's going to be close quarters, or is this going to be, for something like medium to long range or long range specific? But you're right, it does come down to that, because then you're looking at, type of optic, you're looking at weight, you're looking at barrel length, you're looking at handguard length, you're looking at, even if you go suppressor, you're looking at extra weight there, you're looking at length of that, you're looking at how many decibels does it actually affect. And then it comes down to, well, if you're running suppressor, do you have an adjustable gas block? Because you're going to need one of those. And if you don't, are you running a piston build? Are you running dirt? There's a lot that goes into this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Being from the AR side of of the gunsmithing world, I can understand all of the tools involved. And I thought about for a half second getting into the bolt action side until I realized the actual amount of skill it takes and equipment required just to build one of those things. So what kind of tools, what kind of workspace are you looking at when you're building these things?
Well, so things have come along quite well, and the user-friendly aspects of things have really changed. So actually I have, we think of, we'll say more of an old school gunsmith. Everything's built on a lathe, very traditional, and an extremely advanced version of this is somebody who's actually making their own actions.
Right.
They're, down to the point where, some people are even rifling their own barrels, right? That's typically an extremely advanced skill set, and the machinery required to do that is extremely advanced, extremely large, extremely everything, right? It's a very extreme activity. So you have that side of it, right? Which you can definitely get into. But that's, we're talking apprenticeship level stuff to, you need to be doing this your entire life to really have a grasp on it and to not screw things up, and then to the we'll say middle of the road things is, threading barrels, cutting chambers and stuff like that. But you're using, probably custom actions that somebody else built. Something maybe for bolt gun stuff, we're talking about Defiance, we're talking American Rifle Company. There's a litany of, I don't know if litany is the right word. Disclaimer, I'm kind of retarded. But there's a plethora. There we go. Another one. There's a plethora of actions available. So you can do something like that where, you don't have to have an extreme understanding of, the forces at play, if you will, to have a really high quality item. Of course, they're going to be pretty expensive. Anywhere from, full disclosure, I haven't handled any of the Aero Solus actions. I've heard good things about them. I've yet to see one in hand, but I would imagine that it's going to be a pretty nice action. Those ones start at about $800. So that's pretty affordable in the space of custom rifle builds. But for some people that's, $800 is a lot when you still got to buy a barrel, you still got to buy a scope. It adds up really fast. So
it does.
So, you can get just an action, something like that. And then, and in my personal opinion, you don't have to spend a whole lot on an action. There's definitely things that you can spend a lot of money on, and a nice action is something that if you have the money, definitely invest in one. Absolutely. Can you get away with a stock Remington 700 action? Yes, you can. Especially if you can get it pretty broken, and they can work just fine for you. Really, the heart of any rifle is going to be the barrel, right? The chamber in the barrel. So what you can do now, Savage, I believe Savage started this. I could be wrong, right? What's called like the barrel nut. I'm totally drawing a blank on what it's called, right? But it's a pre-fit barrel from a custom manufacturer that has a barrel nut on it. It's kind of similar to your AR. I actually have one right here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this right here is a 24-inch. This is actually a bowl barrel, meaning that from the chamber end to the muzzle end is the same dimension all the way across. So when people are talking about barrel profiles, it's how this steps down as it goes all the way down to the end of your muzzle. So this is what's considered a bull barrel, because it's the same dimension all the way down. So this right here is the chamber end of it, and I wonder if you can hear that on that. Can you guys hear that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
nice.
That beautiful sound that I hear so often.
Yeah. So you have this part of it right here at the very end of I know we're doing a podcast audio, right? So I'll try to explain the best I can for the listeners. But so then this side of it's going to thread into your action. And rather than dealing with head spacing based off of, well, head spacing is still based off of the shoulder, depending on what cartridge you're using. Excuse me. But to create tension on the action itself, you have this adjustable lock ring, right? Lock nut. So you're going to thread your action onto it, and then depending on where your head spacing is going to be, you're just going to thread this lock ring to create tension against your action so it doesn't move, and you'll torque it down to whatever spec is specified. Typically, it's like 45, 50 inch pounds or foot pounds, something like that. So that way, when you're all done with it,
difference for those of you who are listening.
Yes, huge difference. And always make sure which one your device is set to, right?
Yes.
But then all of a sudden now you have a custom barrel fitted to, a regular factory action, and you've drastically improved your accuracy. I mean, the overall capabilities of the rifle itself. And these are really not that expensive. You can go some top of the line stuff, like something from Proof barrels, something like that. And, you can spend upwards of $1,200 for a barrel. This one is actually from a brand new company called Outlier Barrels. And they sent this to me to try out. And I have yet to actually put it on a gun and shoot it. So I don't have anything to say about it other than, I don't know, it looks pretty sweet. It rings really good.
That's cool.
It's very heavy. It is very heavy. I don't know what it weighs. It's got some super deep fluting in it to help.
Yeah, I saw that.
Goodness,
but yeah, this thing is a freaking tank. I mean, it's might as well be like a medieval mace. I could just smash somebody's skull with it.
Just smack somebody with it.
Yeah. So to kind of go back to the question a little bit, you could have a factory action, something. Let me backtrack a little bit here. So how was started the barrel nut fad, if you will? If I am correct, I could be wrong. Then Remington kind of got on with it. So then they started calling them Remage style barrels, which is the same thing. It's going to be a custom barrel, but it's going to have that. It's going to really bother me. I can't remember the name of this locking nut on it, right? This one happens to be for a Howa. So now they're calling these Howage barrels, right? To kind of still pay tribute to, Savage innovation. This is kind of like the middle ground, right? Of a skill with a gunsmithing. It's, and I say middle ground because is it difficult? No, it's really not, but it does require some specialty tooling. Things like a barrel vise, an action wrench, go, no go gauges. And I found that some really good penetrating oil definitely helps out getting that old barrel off.
Yes.
But I mean, if you have those things, it's really not difficult. I've done a couple of barrels, and I mean, getting the old barrel off is the hardest part. I mean, because they can be really on there. Like, oh my God, can they be on there? The last one that I broke loose about sent my bench in half. By the time it cut loose, it just, anything on top just went flying. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm 260 pounds on a breaker bar, like trying to get this thing to go. And then when it finally cut loose, she cut loose. So,
jeez.
Jesus. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys already said it, but the whole thing, I feel like with gunsmithing, I mean, is it, you have to be very specific with, these tolerances with these, with these specifications, but it's machining. You're machining. It's a machine. So,
yeah.
There's, it's, macro, it can look very daunting. It'd be very, very overwhelming, but as long as you're good at compartmentalizing and just like, oh, this is just a tool made up of parts and they have to work in a specific way, then, you can, focus in and, pretty much do whatever you need to do. As long as you, like you said, as long as you have the tools available.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing that kind of scared me from getting into that side of things was a lot of times you'll run into like barrel blanks and you can actually just machine that out to whatever caliber you want. But at the same time, it's like, how in the unholy hell do you do that?
I just picked up on a book.
I don't want this to blow up.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that adds the consequence to, what you're doing. We definitely want to take your time and like, every
risk reward.
Yeah, every gun that I build, I take out and shoot and make sure that it functions in groups and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's, I mean, for the most part, they're all factory guns.
I make 7 to it.
It's not that big of a deal, right? But there's definitely been some times where you're laying back there and you run the bolt home, close it, and you're like, all right, today's the day. Like, let's light this candle.
Like anyways.
Yeah.
I found that if I'm actually scared of something like that, I will just tie a string to the trigger and race that sucker and pull back a little bit.
It's not the right answer. You shouldn't have to be scared of it. What?
That's definitely
There's only been one time
answer
that I've ever done that.
It's like, oh man, I hope this works.
Like, I am not getting my freaking fingers blown off. I am not turning into somebody from Iraq.
Golly.
I'm more worried about that bolt flying back into my eye socket.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah,
the worst I've ever had it doing like internal stuff was when I was a 240 gunner. And I would just have these kids that like had everything on me and they were trying to rack it. I'm like, stop. Please don't. Like, dude, you're gonna lose your eye. Come on, man.
Yeah.
And our squad leader has actually go past the level 10. He has actually like disassembling the tray. The feeding ramp and everything.
Tray,
down to everything. I was like, man, are you sure? But he just like, and that's just the kind of guy that's just the kind of guy he was.
Yep.
He would just grab like he grabbed a random armor. He's like, hey, show me how to do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, cool, whatever. So I just love the world of gunsmithing, of just firearms in general. I'm so enamored with it. I've always been like that. It's like, to me, it's like magic being able to like be here and touch something just hundreds of yards away. And then like, as I got older and I started thinking more critically and like, researching all this stuff and just seeing how much goes into that, not even just the firearm itself, all the mechanisms involved itself, but just the physics to get something, over there against, wind, against gravity, against humidity, against the curvature of the earth, against insert the blank here. Right. It's it's magic to me. It's so freaking cool.
Math. It's amazing. You input all these things into math and it's going to go, as long as you do your fundamentals right, that round is going to go where you tell it to go.
Yeah. But just that,
as long as you don't screw
up. Yeah. As long as you don't mess up. Yeah.
Yes.
As long as you're good at math.
Fundamentals.
Yeah. But on that end, right, the actual application of the machine, but then on the front end, just like, people take it for granted so much. It's just like, yeah, I pull the trigger, it's going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's so much that goes into that, you know, and this episode's about basic gunsmithing. Like, you know, in my mind, it's just like, you know, garage gunsmithing, you know, like, hey, I need to get this, you know, I need to get this ravel together. I need to fix this. I need to, you know, whatever, right? Not like, you know, huge, you know, manufacturing type deal. But, you know, I feel like it's just the gateway drug because you can get so into it. You know, it's just
it definitely can suck you in, and it gets expensive. But
yes,
on the note of how complicated things can get, have you guys heard of a company called TACCOM, or TACCOM HQ? I think.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah.
They're the guys that they got the little flip up, looks like a little monocle that flips up in front of your optic, and it raises your, it's like a little prism device, and it raises your point of impact like instantly out to 600 yards or whatever it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's super rad. I would love to get one.
Interesting. What do you call it?
They're pretty
pricey. TACCOM HQ?
I think it's, I think that's
so,
the name of the company, TACCOM HQ. I could be wrong. But they did a video on, which is, maybe I just haven't paid that much attention to their posts, but then like all of a sudden they started having like these super, super in-depth, like concept of engineering, like discussions and posts and stuff like that with all these like videos to back things up. And they're talking about vibration and essentially like a whip of the gun, right? Like not just like barrel whip, right? But like how the whole gun vibrates together when it's fired. And so they have like some crazy high speed video of, I believe it's like a 50 cal being shot. And so they're talking about, you know, not just that the barrel is moving, right? Like a freaking garden hose when it's shot. Not quite that drastic, but you get my point. Right. But also the scope, like the scope completely just like flexes and like just goes crazy on top of this thing because it's all aluminum, right? And you have a bomb going off under an aluminum and glass piece of equipment, and she moves. It's a spoiler alert. So it's pretty wild to like see that, and you're like, oh, maybe that's why I should like torque things down. Right, so that it doesn't move out of place.
Hey guys, Seven from the Hard Time Strongmen podcast here to bring a quick word from our newest sponsor, Blackbeard Fire Starters. We first saw Blackbeard Fire Starter a few years ago, and after seeing what the product can do, it's been our kit ever since. Their fire starter rope and their fire plugs are windproof, waterproof, dummy proof. They have an insane burn time, and like anything else that they offer, it just works. Besides their fire starters, they offer an arc lighter, ferro rod, stormproof matches, basically anything that you need to get a fire started. To better equip you, we cherry picked their inventory and made our Hard Time Strongmen fire kit. Basically our essentials kit for anything that you could need to get a fire started. But besides that, they're offering 10% off anything in their store when you use the code STRONGMEN. We love the guys at Blackbeard Firestarter. We love what they're doing. We trust them and we trust their products. And we honestly can't recommend them enough. Make sure to check them out online at blackbeardfire.com or on Instagram at blackbeardfire. Huge shout out to the guys at Blackbeard Fire for working with us and for bringing the fire. As always, guys, stay in the fight.
Hey everybody, this is 6 and 7 with the Hard Time Strongmen podcast, and we are coming to talk to you about our Patreon and Discord.
Hey guys, our patrons get early access to all of our episodes. They get all of our exclusive pre and post shows, all of our spicy takes, all of our rabbit holes that we go on, everything that we want to include in an episode, but we can't because we need to stay on topic. And soon enough, we will be offering digital downloads, guides, everything that we've been working on in the background will soon be available to our patrons. So make sure to check it out.
And come hang out with us on Discord. Speaking of the spicy stuff, this is where we discuss most of it. Once you're there, you'll get access to all of our in-depth discussions, including stuff like homesteading, fieldcraft, medical, camping, communications, shooting, you like ARs, come talk to us about it. You like 4x4 vehicles and prepping, come talk to us about it.
You like tannerite, thermite, napalm? Come talk to us about it. All of the campfire talks that would get us kicked off of other platforms, it's right there in our Discord. Come join our community.
We're active on Discord every day. We're interacting with members constantly. We have guys from every walks of life coming to contribute their expertise to all of these various fields and subjects that we've been talking about.
Come join the Discord. Come join the Discord. Join our community. Build up that better class of man. Now back to the episode. Okay. So
go ahead. Go.
No, go for it, please.
Oh, so I was kind of going back to, tools of garage gunsmithing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you can get a lot done with like for ARs, like a pin block or disassembly block, a set of punches, right? Get them on Amazon. They're like $30-$40 for. I actually have a pretty decent little set, and I didn't pay very much at all for them. And
Same.
I mean, you can do a lot of work with that right there. And then, one of these bad boys that I don't even know what this is called. Armor's wrench, right?
Armor's wrench.
Yeah, armor's wrench.
I think I've used it twice.
Is that and a torque wrench for scopes?
Yes.
Like that, I'd agree with you. That I'd say that's your bare bones. Obviously, a lot of things to make your life easier. Yep, exactly.
There you go. That's a pretty cool one.
Reach behind you, click magnets.
Yeah,
all day. Just magnet trays for all those little springs and things and everything.
Yeah,
all day.
I got some too. Yeah. So I mean,
sits right on my vise.
Yeah, and I have like a little, like a small. It's like a little 4 or 5. It might be a 6-inch vise. It's not very big. I had
It's tiny.
Yeah, I had a little
3.
Ego thing going on. I was like, yeah, the 5-inch vices. That's enough, right? That's plenty big. Then I got it, and I was like, oh, that's tiny. Like, it's like, I didn't realize I was building toys here, right? So. Yeah, the having a good vice is definitely something to have with you. But yeah, I mean, you can get a 100%. Lot done on an AR. For bolt guns. Bolt guns are a little harder. Just I feel like the space they take up is you have to like manage your space a lot differently. AR, you can just throw it down. I got a decent workbench, but you can throw it down on the kitchen table, no big deal. Versus like a bolt gun, it's just like all of a sudden everything starts getting huge, and you're like, God, I need like 2 countertops for this, but there's like way less parts. Right. I don't know. It's weird.
I feel like
the parts they do have are big.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
You make monsters. I was gonna say, I think my problem is that I just have a completely different mentality with bolt guns than I do with ARs. Like just from when I've had to use ARs, I'm just like, oh, you'll be fine. To just throw it. Like, who cares?
It's a club.
Like what?
It's club.
What? I missed a pin. I have a drawer full of those. Like whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Clamp it. Okay, whatever. But with a bolt gun, I'm just like, you're so much more precious than that AR I could throw down a hill. Like I need to actually pay attention here. So that, and then just like, I feel like I baby them just because I haven't, I don't have enough hands-on to really, have that deep enough appreciation for it. But I'm just like, oh man, I want to barely touch the glass on my bolt guns. I'm like, I need to be careful. The AR, I'm just like, yeah, there you go. Whatever. Yeah. But a lot of that's a me issue, obviously. But you're right. There's a lot more space. I feel like it's just not more specialized tools, but
they're just different tools.
Precision, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Six and I were talking while you dipped out for a minute, but the having like a barrel vise to hold on like to your barrel, right?
Right.
And then like some action wrenches to actually separate your barrel from action. And then some headspace engages to put it back together again, and like a torque wrench to actually torque things down and make sure that it's all good. That's really it. If you want to start like taking apart triggers, that's like way smaller pieces.
Nope.
I wouldn't do
Nope.
that. Don't take apart triggers. Just use that punch set, pull the old one off, probably throw it in the trash.
Throw the new one in there.
Go
Call
get
it a day.
get a new trigger. Right.
Yeah.
You know, go to Timney or go to Trigger Tech or, you know, insert company here. And get yourself a nice trigger.
Where do you learn your gunsmithing? Were you just one of those guys who just like, well, I need to do this, and you start tearing things apart, or did you read up in books, watch the videos? Like, where do you start building your skill set?
So I'm definitely just kind of we did talk about this too, but, you know, kind of filling a need, like, you know, something broke, I have to fix it, or something's not working right, I need to do something about it. But also employing a little bit of curiosity into that, and creativity of, you know, what happens if I do this, right? Let's try this out. Right. So, I mean, I'm essentially all self-taught. You know, I'm no stranger to YouTube. I will say this, if you're going to do something on a weapon system and you're not familiar with it, you know, try to find a good YouTube video, you know, watch that video, and then like, just watch the video itself, and then pull the gun out in front of you, and then like play it again. Right. And like, as you're going through it, okay, follow the steps, pause it when you need to, you get to that place. Okay. Play it again. Right. So that like, it's still fresh in your mind, but you still have the guide right in front of you. And I've done that with all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And, you know, it's even if it's annoying. Well, like we have like, okay, I need this specific answer, but I have to search this entire video. Like, okay, I know all that. Where is this one piece? And, you know, and you're trying to find that. And like, I made a video one time because like everybody had videos like prior to what I needed and after what I needed, but nobody had a video of like exactly what I needed. So I finally figured it out and made a video. I was like, hey, look, everybody, this is how you do this. Like, nobody else will tell you, but I figured it out. But
that's that gatekeeping crap. Like, there's so many people, like, they don't want to give up these secrets and they want to be like still valued. So they're not going to tell you how to do this specific critical part.
I don't think it was intentional. It was just like everybody was doing like overviews, and I needed like, here's like, you know, your baseline knowledge, and I needed like, beep, just, you know, right down below it. And everyone kind of breezed over the top, and I was like, damn it, that's not all right. Next video. All right. So
see that right there, though, I found like you're never going to forget that, though, because like once you have to teach something like that, just sticks, man.
Well, see, the funny part is I think I already forgot it. I can't even remember. It was on a Ruger RPR, and I don't remember what it was. Something about the bolt and the extractor, something like that. But I'll have to go back and watch my own video.
What do you feel like are barriers to entry? I guess I couldn't find a better way to say that. Like, what do you think is the hardest part, you know, besides the confidence portion of actually getting into, you know, gunsmithing, whether that's your own or helping a buddy, you know, what's the biggest leap there?
Biggest leap is going to have to be knowledge. Like, you don't have to attend a gunsmithing school to, you know, take apart a gun. Right. There's definitely ways that you can take it apart and damage it if you don't do it correctly.
I was going to say, you definitely don't need the class to take it apart. You might need it to put it back together.
Very true. Very true. I mean, I don't know. I feel like so much of this comes down to like common sense. Like if you played with Legos as a kid and you went outside of the instructions and like built other things with Legos, you can take apart a gun and put it back together again. But there's a couple of things that you have to understand is how is it supposed to work?
Right.
You need to be intimately familiar with how it's supposed to function before you ever touched it. If you just like, you know, buy a build kit and just set it down in front of you and you're like, I don't know, I guess I'm building a gun, you know, you're going to have a bad time.
Right.
Versus, you know, being like really familiar with ARs or something like that. And they'd be like, hey man, like the bolt's not going all the way forward. Like, okay, why is the bolt not going forward? And then like having to think that way about it rather than, well, I don't know, man, I just followed the steps and it like it didn't,
Not having a result
doesn't
in
shoot.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a really critical part of it is, you have to have that going into it is understanding what task you're trying to accomplish. Equipment too. I'll speak directly to the person that's like listening to this, like, well, something's wrong with my gun. I got to fix it. Like, find somebody who has done this before. There's probably, like, if you like guns, there's a good chance that your friends like guns too. And there's a good chance that one of your friends has done something like this. Just ask them. Just like reach out to somebody on Instagram. If it's I do that. I'll go on these super custom gun pages like Montana Precision Rifles and like that. Fantastic rifles, just gorgeous, right?
Yeah, they're awesome.
I will say, well out of my league, right? And I'll just ask them, hey man, this is what I got going on. Like, am I stupid? Like, what's going on? And I've never had anybody be like, no man, like I don't, get out of here or just like blow me off. Like they'll at least answer me back or point me in a direction. So I don't know. I'm trying to think what else might be, a barrier to entry. Space and money.
Yes, I was going to say money for sure. Space, that's a good one. Hell, I had to rig my freaking workbench to fold down.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I don't have enough space, so it's mounted to the wall and it can fold up and throw the legs under it and you're good to go. But yeah, you're right. Like, money and space. If you don't have the capital to put towards getting like your equipment, your tools, your workbench, everything that you're going to need, like that's a huge barrier to entry. Yep. You got to spend money to make money. And a lot of this stuff is buy once, cry once.
Yeah, but I don't know. At the same time, like I feel like I've either gotten really lucky or I don't know. I'm just like a cheap ass. Because I don't know. It's funny because I think a lot of this stuff comes from like a lot of my infrastructure here that I have in my little shop is because, prior to this company, I was trying to manufacture small batch ammunition, and so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build, small batch precision rifle ammo, and I failed at that, but I learned a ton in that period, and it really helped set me up for this. And a lot of the infrastructure that I, built and purchased for that purpose is now helping me leaps and bounds with this.
Yeah.
So, a lot of like the workbenches I already have, really for me personally, granted I'm an FFL, I have to store and secure things, right? If you're just a Joe Schmo, then, for the safety of others, you should probably do something with your guns, right? I'm not going to tell you need to have a safe and everything needs to be in it and, yada, 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 NRA.
Highly recommended, though, in my opinion.
It's true. I have guns laying all around my house.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. So, I'm not like a huge, like every gun has to be cabled and everything. Like, I don't think I even have a gun cable in the house, right? But, so there's certain things that I have had to do, to secure different, items and articles and stuff like that. I kind of forgot where I was going on this tangent. I got off on the gun safety thing.
It's okay.
But, infrastructure. So, there's definitely ways you can do it. Look around on like OfferUp. Look on that Facebook Marketplace. Look on, and don't just like, don't like if you're looking for like a workbench for gunsmithing, don't type in like gunsmithing workbench. Like, find something that will suit your needs, in a different way. Like, what can you repurpose to to suit your needs. Like my primary workbench right back here is actually an old battery charging station for a tractor company. They had these big like bays underneath of it, and they would slide batteries in it, and that's where they would store them. And then they would pull them out on top and charge them and stuff like that. And so for me, you know, it's not a battery charging station. It's a workbench with a bunch of cubbies in it.
So workbench.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Like perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I got it for free, right? I just had to transport it, fix it up a little bit, painted it, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
like you don't have to go and, you know, buy, or like if especially like if you don't really know how to build things, right? Like I'm not a good like big woodworking guy. I know how to cut some board and throw some nails and stuff, right? I can do that.
Right.
But you don't have to be like a carpenter, be like, oh, I need a workbench. Like, let's go down to Home Depot and you know, get all the redwood oak and whatnot. I think those are different kinds of wood. See, I'm showing my true colors and names.
Redwood and oak, cedar. Yeah.
Yeah. One of those, something oak, cedar, bark, something. Weeping willow. But so yeah, you don't have to go do something like that. And same thing with like metal benches. Like you don't have to go like build this crazy, you know, stuff that you see at like Costco or whatever. You don't got to do that.
Right.
And I mean, like this actually bench or this shelving, got that for free. There's some shelving back there.
Yeah.
Got that for free. All this shelving over here on this side of the garage, you can see some. I don't know. Actually, those ones I did pay for. But like that shelving over there, got that for free. There's more big shelving over there, got that for free. Right. And it's just kind of like stuff that's built up over time. They just kind of have to keep an eye out for. And then lo and behold, oh, look at that. You know, but I have equipment to empower you to do things. Which is funny. I literally, as I'm saying this, I literally just look up at my reloading bench and I see, is that a mag strip? Look at that. There's a mag strip, because I was just playing with that mag strip with my tools on it. And I was like, I should get another mag strip. And then I look up and there's a mag strip attached that I've never even noticed before, attached to my reloading bench. And it's been there for 5 years now. And I never even noticed it. So I'm going to pull that off and stick it somewhere else, right?
There you go.
You
Repurposing.
Repurpose, look around, figure it out. You can do it.
Yeah. We teach that here. So along those lines, so obviously, you know, money, material, you have a lot of barriers to entry. So what are some realistic things that if someone was trying to get into home gunsmithing, what should they be looking for? I mean, obviously we've hit, you know, your table, your vise, free shelves if you can find stuff, because parts, you're going to want to have a lot of freaking parts on hand, spare parts. I have learned that the hard way when I've set the freaking detent pins freaking flying across
into
my room.
orbit.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, organization too. Find a way,
Yes.
like as you're building, think of organization in mind so that, okay, I can have parts over here for this. I can have parts over here for that. Keep things separated, labeled, which is very difficult. Something I am not an organized person. My wife is OCD. I am not. I am an organized chaos kind of guy. So, like my wife hates coming into the shop here. She's just like comes in and like closes her eyes and she's like, "Oh my God, what is this? Like, get away!" Right? She's the type that like labels all the drawers and, you know, like, oh, the red pens go over here, the blue pens go over here, and I'm like, they're all pens. Like, throw them in there. So, like in pencils too. Why not? Right? Markers, sure.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I guess my organization is just a lot more like broad, like, ooh, writing things, that drawer, right? So anyways, you know, keep that in mind when you're getting stuff going. But yeah, I mean, space to work, organization, you know, some basic tool sets, you know, the punch set, action wrench, the bench vise. We talked about these types of things. Some levels is also good to have. And start with small jobs, right? Don't expect to be jumping into anything crazy. And don't ever be afraid to tell somebody like, no, I can't do that. Right. Rather, like, don't ever learn on somebody else's gun unless they're 100% okay with it. And they tell you like, yeah, man, like, go for it. If they're okay with that, fine. But I mean, I've had to tell people no, right? Like, I don't have a lathe. I'm not turning barrels. I'm not cutting chambers. That's how I can keep my rifles as affordable as they are, is because I'm not doing that super laborious amount of work. It's just not happening.
Right.
So I had a guy, he sent me a barrel, and I guess a friend gave him the barrel. It was a Christensen Arms carbon fiber barrel, because he upgraded the barrel on his rifle or whatever. And so he said, here, take this and build a gun off of it. I'm like, sweet. Right. So he sends me this barrel, and he says, hey, let's build a gun off this. And I said, okay. So I get a hold of Christensen Arms and kind of ask them about it and stuff. And I can't just get an action through them because I wanted to kind of keep it, all together. No, I have to buy like a whole rifle just to get an action. I'm like, okay, well, that's a waste, right?
I hate that. I hate proprietary stuff.
And so they say, oh, well, I explained to them what I'm trying to do. And they were super cool about it. And they go, well, any Remington 700 action will work. And I go, okay. And I happen to have a Remington 700 action, like, literally laying in front of me. I go, all right, neat, right? This simplifies it. And so I thread this action on, and the barrel is way too long, way too long. Like the thread section on the barrel itself is probably like a 1/4 inch too long. And because, like, you can shim things, right? They make barrel shims and stuff like that. Yeah, not that much.
Yeah, not that amount.
So in order to make that work, I'm going to have to cut the barrel. And because it was a 300 Win Mag barrel, it hit spaces off of the belt on the chamber, not on the shoulder. Even if it wasn't the shoulder, I still would have had to recut the chamber on it. And so, like, I have to have a lathe for that. And so I told the guy, I'm like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, if this was my barrel and I had like nothing better to do, well, I might figure it out, right? Find
take a hacksaw to it.
Well, no, I mean, I would find somebody with a lathe and rent it for a couple hours and try to figure it out.
Right.
But told the customer, like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm not doing this. So, like, I don't have the previous skill set, and I'm not going to learn on your gun. Okay, no, that's fine, no problem. And that's that. And, like, did I lose out of a sale? Yep. Like, what's better? Him, he doesn't get a new gun, or he gets like a screwed up, jacked up one, and I get bad mouthed because I, did a crap job on his gun. Well, pick and choose what you want.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too, because, like, he might not have bought something from you, but because you were honest with him, you were upfront with that stuff, he will likely come back, or he will send someone else to you because of that.
Yeah. I mean, start with small jobs, triggers, right? Handguards. Move on to some other things, like maybe, gas blocks. If you want to start getting into like pinning things, you can start looking into building a bolt carrier group, pinning, gas blocks and stuff like that. I mean, there's like some more, we'll say, technical things where you're actually like moving metal, and to where we'll say the price of your consequences gets more and more as you go up, right? Like trigger, you can't really screw up a trigger unless you like do something really stupid with it, right?
Right.
Handguard, kind of the same thing, right? Either it goes on and it fits. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, right? Versus like, you I don't know, you get what I'm saying. I feel like Joe Biden over
Yeah,
here.
yeah. No, I get
you know the thing.
I follow you. No. Yeah, the thing with the thing. The
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
So, you know,
No, I get you.
as things get a little more involved, the price goes up on your mistakes, right? Even same
Right.
things with you get into Seven. Every time you come in, we're talking about barrels because it's just about to start talking about barrels again.
Like you guys are doing. I really liked what you were saying about just understanding the, you know, in my mind, I automatically go to like cycles of function, but just like the why
Yeah.
behind,
Yeah.
you know why
The critical thinking involved.
why the firearm
The
does
knowledge
what
of
it does,
function.
why the
That's the
machine
big
works.
thing too.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you want it to do this, so let's think about how it actually does that and where it's going wrong.
Because when you're teaching
Yes.
somebody about it, like when you're first teaching someone about a firearm, like when I'm teaching someone about the AR-15 or M4 when I was in, it was like, okay, I would like show them like, hey, it goes in the magazine, and I would just walk through visually like why everything does what it does. Because if something goes wrong, you can diagnose based off of where it goes wrong at. So
Yeah,
same reason it would have to work the same thing with gunsmithing, but
Right.
just having that intimate knowledge. And I really like what you said, just something was broke, I had to do this out of necessity, so I just took it apart. I feel like a lot of that's lost on us, but I've got what I get way back when, just small arms, like just small arms, just general gunsmithing, like Gunsmithing AR-15, just a couple books. And I lived on YouTube for a long time while I was learning how to just do basic home stuff, and then the rest of it was hands-on. But even just knowing, so especially like going from like the AR to a bolt gun to a foreign firearm, just understanding those basic functions are obviously absolutely essential.
Yeah. You bring up a good point about foreign firearms too. I don't own an AK. I should at some point. I definitely want to.
Same.
I've shot a couple of them, but still, like having like a very baseline understanding of it, of like, okay, what is it supposed to do? Right? You pull the trigger. There's a firing pin, or there's a hammer and a firing pin that falls. Right, strikes the round. It goes off. Gas comes somewhere, right? I have a pretty good point. I can, look on the barrel. Probably comes right out of there, right? There's the exhaust port, comes back. I see, roughly how the bolt's gonna function when it's cycling, and you can kind of get a pretty basic understanding of what's supposed to be going on here, and then from there you can look at wear points. You can look at some very obvious things. Strangely enough, like probably the most obvious thing I'll do when somebody, like if I'll pick up a gun, is I'll like shake it. Like that's going to tell me so much immediately. If I pick it up and I shake it and it rattles, all right, like step one, what the hell was that?
What do you do?
It could be like something super, super simple. It could be something not simple. It's going to tell you so much about how the firearm was put together, right? Like if somebody's like, it's happened to me a couple of times where just out at the range day with some Telegram guys or whatever, and they're like, hey, shoot my gun, and I go, okay. Then I pick it up, and as soon as I'm just like moving it to my shoulder, I feel vibration in it, and I'm like, why is this vibrating? Like I'm not doing anything with it. Right. And it's so then like stop and like, look, I might, shoot it a couple of times, and you can just like feel either like the grunge or pings or something. And you're like, do I tell them something's wrong with this? Or, do I look at it first?
Both. In my mind, both.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, that's happened where it's like,
6 on a range.
sure,
you left the house with this?
Yeah.
What?
You're not wrong. I've done that.
I have had days where I picked up somebody's rifle and I just like, no, take it away. Stop it.
The sound of like rust or dirt and grime in there as you're racking that freaking charging handle back, and it's just like, oh, dude.
Strangely enough, at this last a little shooting event that I went to. It was kind of like a pistol class type deal or whatever. And this guy that was in attendance, he had it was a SIG P365 XL, whatever. I like that gun a whole lot. I see you shaking your head over there. I'm a SIG user. I'm not a fanboy, right? But I like SIGs. So, and yes, I appendix carry my P320. So, but
still shoot your dick off.
A real man.
around here we die like
He
men.
fears nothing.
We die like men.
Nutless.
But I'm into those really, really quick gender reassignment surgeries, typically involuntary too. But,
It's a surprise. There's nothing wrong with surprises. Gosh.
But anyway, so we're out there shooting, and this guy Sig just like it just keeps having. I can't remember what the failure was, but he's having failure to eject, I think is what it was. And so I kind of like casually like wander over, like, ooh, what's going on over here? And I like see him, racking this thing, and it's just like, like might as well have like sandpaper inside of it. And I'm like, all right. So take it from him. Like, it's like bone dry. And I like bone dry, just pull it out of the box. Like, it's like bone dry, like you like put it in the oven and just like baked every ounce of moisture out of this thing. And
that pains me just to hear. Because I
Makes me
know
so
exactly.
Yeah. So like drop the mag, and I'm like running the slide on it, and I was like, he was like, do you have any lube? And he was like, no, I don't have any. So like, I mean, I guess just to be an asshole, I don't know. I've always wanted to do this. I just like spit right on his barrel and just
What a monster.
Yes. Back in. I'll throw the mag in, and then like 5 rounds, no problem. And I'm like, oh, look at that. A little lubrication goes a long way.
Oh,
and
funny.
just hand it back to him. And like I went over and I grabbed, a handful of 9mm and like gave it to him. I was like, this is for the ammo I shot at your gun. And anyway, I've always wanted to do that. I've actually wanted to do. Yeah, I've wanted to do a video. Someone's gonna steal my idea. I'll just have to do the video before this airs.
Yeah,
but
you got 2
do a
weeks.
video of like
weeks.
like an AR shooting, and like the it's super dry, like malfunctions and whatnot. It goes, oh no, what's wrong? And then somebody pulls out like a giant thing of Astroglide and just right into the bolt. And then just have it run like flawlessly, or have it shoot, like swap it out for like a full auto lower on it, just and mag dump it.
Oh my God.
That'd be pretty funny. So now I just have to make that happen before this airs, because otherwise someone's going to steal my idea.
So what gunsmithing can be realistically done at home? Like, what's a good goal to shoot for?
A good goal to shoot for is a gun that actually shoots and hits the things you're looking to hit. Kind of a no duh answer on that one.
Based.
One that doesn't blow up in your face.
Fair.
Even better.
Oh man, that's gonna super bother me, because I had like an actual intelligent answer for you of where this was going.
That's right. You were right though. I mean, like with with most of the tools that people already have, if you need to get, some just plain Jane basic tools, it's a little more specialized than what you'd use around the shop, but they're easily found, and a little bit of know-how, or a little bit of, just, the balls to get in there and figure it out. You can do a lot of this stuff. You talked about manufacturing too. I look behind, 6, and I see a 3D printer that is collecting dust, and people are having a lot of really great, luck in that area. A lot of great innovations coming out of there, guys, that I've seen that actually being used. The FGC 9, like people just pumping stuff out. Like you said, several times in the episode, if like, as long as you know the basic just functions, like what does this thing need to do to work, then you can work around that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was going to say 3D printing is kind of the one exception to like what you can do. without having like a mill and a lathe. You know, I had a 3D printer for a while, which is weird. I'm on paper, I'm a computer guy. But in reality, I'm not really a computer guy. I'm much more of like a hands-on, you know, feel your way around type
Same.
of guy. So, you know, 3D printing didn't come very easy to me, but you know, I kind of taught myself some CAD stuff and trying to like design parts and stuff like that. And so like I made some like +2s for magazines and stuff like that. And
Cool.
They did actually work. I found a slight problem in summertime. They get a little soft, especially if you leave them in the car, and then they, and you know, that gets fun. So I wouldn't recommend that, or at least to find better
Surprise.
films.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. Like, I mean, so one of the easiest things that you can do for a firearm to increase your enjoyment when shooting it, and performance, we'll say as well, is really like how you interface with the gun. So like if you kind of look at those things, where like, yeah, I have this gun, like an AR, right? It's not the greatest, but like somebody else's, you know, shoot your buddy's gun, and you're like, wow, that thing is awesome. Like, why is it awesome? Right? It's, you know, you interface with the gun in a couple of different ways. You know, your cheek, your hand, probably your other hand, and your trigger. So eyes too, but that's aiming device. So there's literally a handful of things that you can kind of look at. So me personally, like trigger first. And this is given that like a gun functions correctly and stuff like that. Upgrade a trigger in it. They're not too terribly expensive. $150 will get you a good drop-in trigger. Me personally, I like velocity triggers, you know, Rise Armament, even apparently PSA, Palmetto State Armory has some really nice drop-in triggers too. I have never used them, but I've heard really good things about them. And
Dude, PSA has come a long way.
they really have.
They're pumping out a lot of stuff recently.
Well, did you know that PSA actually bought? I think this is what happened was PSA bought out AAC.
No way.
Yeah, same company.
The makers. Yeah,
No friggin'
Yeah.
way. That's crazy.
yeah.
No wonder.
Same guys that make the 300 Blackout. Yeah,
Wow.
or came out with the 300 Blackout originally. I think that was them, right?
AAC. Yeah.
Yeah, same company.
Yeah.
I love your
Well,
point
not
about
same company,
interfacing
but-
with the firearm, because the two or like the three biggest changes I've ever felt in a firearm is whenever I changed the buttstock, the grip, and the trigger out.
Yep. Yeah. And
That's
so
just,
like
that
even
changes everything. It's like a fingerprint.
yeah, and so I mean even looking at this rifle right here, and the audience
the
can't
fatty.
see, right? BCM gunfighter buttstock. I'm not super crazy about it. Does it work? Yep. The only reason I bought this was because it was the same price as like the Magpul like standard. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's not the
Right.
the garbage plastic M4 piece of crap that you get on like your mil spec M4s.
The one that spins around.
Yeah, that one. So I was like, I'll try the gunfighter one. And so, this one, I would take it or leave it. Yeah, it works. But definitely something other than that piece of crap mil spec one that you get on all of your like base model. You know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what it's called other than the M4 buttstock. It sucks.
I was gonna say like
It's the A2.
I was gonna say like the M4 standard, not the A2, like the M4. Just he's talking about the
Oh yeah.
that piece of crap. Yeah,
What is that? The A4
I don't know.
Yeah.
stock? I don't know. I know what you're talking about.
It's the collapsible
that preset
stock
crap one.
that sucks.
Yeah,
Right? That I
the
mean,
one that we all pulled off as soon as we got in country.
yeah. The pistol grip, I like immediately throw out the A2 pistol grip, right?
Yep.
And then obviously the trigger. Which, funny enough, this one actually does have a mil-spec trigger in it. It's just heavily worn in. And I just haven't swapped it for a mil-spec.
There's the girl I built.
There she is. Hello.
Because this is the A2.
Yeah.
And I love the A2.
I remember.
I've always loved the A2. I love how it feels. I love how it integrates. I love the whole. And then this.
Oh, there you go.
I don't even know. I don't remember what company it is, but it's fat.
So
right here.
That's Ergo.
Big ol'
Ergo grip. Big old fatty grip. I got that on like everything because I have big hands as well. And it's like I like to just manhandle everything. But yeah, man, I go with the with that B5 stock. It's like a clone of that Magpul one where it's got the extended cheek weld.
I stole a Magpul one out of the top of a striker. I found it in a box. Nice. I was like, oh, that's mine. And I love that too.
That's right in my pack.
Yeah, that was on my on my AR right now. But it's fun. It holds batteries. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, man, you're right. It's all the little things that can just change the feel of it. Like the first things I usually pull or change out are the trigger. Sometimes the charging handle, kind of depends on what's already on there. The grip and the selector switch. Actually, I don't like the 90-degree selector switch. I always go to either a 60 or 45 because I want to be able to just go
60
on.
Yeah, the 60 is definitely better. I typically don't swap them out. To me, it's like I've done it so much. I don't even think about it. Right. It's on, it's off. I just use it. I mean, definitely they definitely need to get broken because they're always like really chunky and right. So, I mean, like when I get it, I'll just like play with the selector and just break that in as much as I can. Throw oil down in and just break it in. Right.
All day.
But that's surprisingly, that's one thing that I haven't like bothered to swap out. I've shot with them on 45s and 45, 60-degree throw, whatever it is. And it's nice. I mean, I agree with you. It's definitely nicer. But it's just something I haven't spent money on and put the effort into actually swapping it.
Right. It's sometimes it's just personal preference with a lot of this stuff. I like foregrips and shit, so,
Yeah.
Or, painting your rifle. I don't know who doesn't do that.
Paint your rifle? Is that what you said?
Yeah, painting your rifle.
Hey.
I'm a huge believer in actually painting your rifle, not just because it looks cool, right? But specifically to get over the fact that you need to take care of it, like that you need to baby it.
You're not wrong.
100%.
Like
I've babied this too much.
Like even this one, it was black and it had I think it had like a burnt bronze lower on it. And I was like, that looks pretty cool. Like maybe I won't paint it right with black gun with like the burnt bronze lower because I got it all like blem stuff. I'm like, I don't give a shit, right? But then it has like, I had that thought creeping on my mind of like, oh, well, I have to kind of keep it nice, right? I need to I kind of need to take care of it. And then I was like, no, I got to paint it, right? I need to get that aspect out of my mind. It is a tool. It's getting used, right? And it will get used up and then it gets replaced. Like none of this, like, oh, can't get scratched unless it's the customer's gun is, different story.
Right.
But yeah, like if I can't take it, like open the door to the truck and like toss it in the back seat, what am I doing?
Something's wrong.
Right.
Something's wrong.
Like it's
100%.
I'll use the terminology like it's a weapon of war, right? Not like in this like frou like, oh no, it's a weapon of war. Like, no, that's made for killing people. Like, what else did you think it was for? Like, we have fun with it in the off time.
Ago, this part was killing people.
Yes.
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
What the hell am I doing? Like babying this thing. And you know what really got me? What made me like just kind of kicked me into gear. Like I went out and I painted all my guns was that one Grantham video, old Grant, where he painted the scar. And then it's like, he started the video with throwing it on the ground. I was like, hey,
I remember that.
What were you doing? And then
everyone liked
it. Just like, I don't know what, it just clicked in my head. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot what these were for. And I went in my garage, I painted all my guns. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not worried about it anymore. Like, you know, like you said, if it breaks, it gets replaced.
Yep.
It's a tool. Like, it's my job to take care of my tool.
I will paint that 300 blackout at some point.
But that day is not this day.
But that day's not today.
Ah.
Thank you. Yes.
How many years have you had that 300 blackout?
So
how many years have you lived in shame?
So that 300 blackout has gone through so many iterations. Before it was on, like, that was actually my first like purpose built gun.
None of those iterations were painted.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Not a single damn one of them was painted. But that thing has gone through so much stuff between like being on aero furniture with a laser on it, and now it's at the point where I wanted to put it got to the point where I wanted to put the suppressor under the handguard, which is why I went with the aero stuff. And then I was like, this is going to be freaking annoying if I have to take it off and use the gun, because it's going to blow this furniture apart because of the muzzle device. So then I had to go with somebody else's stuff, and honestly, still haven't brought myself to just paint it. And I know I need to. It's just, I love that gun so much. I don't want to, you know?
Yeah, you need to immediately get over that. Like, go drag it out right now and go paint that.
What are you as a man doing worrying about a piece of metal?
Okay. Fair.
Go pee on it.
Go pee on it.
You want to watch? I'll do it.
I didn't realize we're sponsoring his OnlyFans right now.
I was
OnlyGats.
thinking about making an OnlyFans and then just having normal episodes on there.
I mean, that's what it was intended to do. You know,
it's just diversifying. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
no, but that to me, that's like the easiest thing to get people into for gunsmithing. So
yeah,
like,
absolutely,
my buddy, I actually got him over the painting thing, because he was showing me a new gun that he had built, and I was like, oh, it's really cool, man. Why is it black? And it's just like,
let's go paint it.
I seriously, I like our family, like our families were visiting. I was like, no, we're going to the garage. And like, I showed it up and I made him paint it. And he's like, oh, I feel better. I was like, thank you. Yeah. So like, now
I understand that.
Yeah, now we can get to work. Like,
yeah, there's like hesitation.
Some stuff. There's some stuff I feel like I can't bring myself to paint. Like my 6.5 Grendel is sitting on radiant furniture.
It's because you're holding on to the weakness.
Can't do it.
Shame.
Do it.
Shame him. It's because you're holding on to that weakness. My brother-in-law came over and he saw, like, I had a couple of guns out, guys. I was showing him. I don't remember what I was showing him. Oh, my bad lever. Love that thing.
Oh yes. Bad levers on everything.
I was just showing him like my stuff, and he's like, "Oh, you painted all these?" I said, "Well, yeah." It's just like, I don't know, but it's the easiest thing to do because it's a rail can. I could care less. If I screw it up, I'll paint over it. You know, it's whatever. It's the safest thing that you can do to a rifle. And then after that, like you said, you get over that mental whatever, that barrier, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a tool that I can work on. Like, it's not made out of glass.
Yeah, it's honestly like when I have that, it's especially like it's a little bit different with customers' guns because I'll paint customers' guns too.
Okay.
But there's definitely like that. It sounds super stupid, but it's like the achievement unlock, right? You're like, oh, I don't know. You're like, screw it, man. I got to do it. Then and then it's like, ding, ding, you know, like,
yep,
you can do it. And then you're like, okay. And then
I can actually do it
up.
You're right.
And you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then it gets done. You're like all excited about it. It's like the best, cheapest thing you can do for your gun is like just paint the damn thing. And you're going to love it so much more. You're going to be excited about it. Like every time I paint something, I bring it in to the house and like show my wife, like, look what I did.
Yeah. Look at this thing.
And she's like, oh my God, that looks great. Or she'll just be like, that doesn't look good. And I'm like, yeah, I was kind of thinking that too. Then I was like, all right, I'll be right back. And then just go and pick different colors and paint over it. Or, I mean, I'll let it dry first and then paint over it.
Right, yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. I had the same thing when I was a kid, not with guns, obviously, but with knives. Like, I was like, I loved like knives. I love being outdoors, like, camping, hunting, everything. But like, I really babied my knives, and it took until my dad was just like, "What are you doing?" Like, it's a tool.
What are you doing,
like,
boy?
He's like, it's like a hammer. You don't care
Yeah.
about the hammer. Like, just use the stupid thing. And it took until I just like really bust up the edge, and then I went and I sharpened it and everything, and it's like, oh, this isn't like broken forever. Like, I can actually, I trust my tool that I can beat it up, and I can take care of it and fix it later. So
Takes 5 minutes to resharpen a knife.
you have a
I do
wedding
not have
stone.
one of those.
Why
With
did you
this
buy
thing.
that?
Because with a wedding stone, it takes for freaking ever. Versus this, I can resharpen an entire kitchen's worth of knives in 30 minutes
Your weakness disgusts
to
me.
beyond factory. So, eat a dick.
Nom, nom, nom,
That's probably
nom.
lost
But no,
here,
you're
too.
right.
I cut the crap out of my hand with a tomahawk one time after I was shot, like across my palm. I was like, oh. It's like, dang it.
I was making this
Well, it's
giant...
like the last time we were.
Oh, good.
Go ahead. No, go.
Okay. Yeah, I was making this giant, like super, super heavy machete one time in my parents' backyard. And I sharpened it down really, really good. This thing was as ugly as sin, right? I don't know. For some reason, I decided I was like, oh, I'm going to make knives. And they were just terrible.
Cool.
They were so bad. And so as I'm like, I can't remember what I was doing, but I had just gotten it all nice and sharp down. I had it in the vise, like blade up, so I could like work on it. And I did something and like slipped, and I hit my hand like down on top of it, and it cut like all three of the tips of my fingers where they all like meet, and just like pow right on top. And it, oh my God, it hurt. It hurt. That was probably one of the most painful cuts. Was like,
That's a
I don't
mystery.
know. It was bad. I totally forgot about that until right now. Thanks. I appreciate it. Like,
You're
I'll just-
welcome. Yeah.
I
There
feel
you
the
go.
pain. The pain's coming
Well,
back.
That reminds me when we were recording the other day, and I was sitting here literally just sharpening my kitchen knife right in front of him, showing how this works. And I just, go 90 degrees from the blade, just doing this. And then I'm like, that feels weird. I look down, and it had taken an entire chunk out of my thumb. That's how sharp it had gotten. Just me sitting there, just sharpening away right in front of him. And I went to like, oh yeah, look how sharp this is. And I'm looking down, and like a piece of my thumb's hanging off. Like, what the hell?
Oops.
The sharpest
Yeah.
knife I ever held, I bought a K-bar because I was a teenager, and of course, and I was like looking at it, and I was holding it in my hands. Just the weight of the blade, like, cut across 4 of my fingers.
Jeez.
And I was like, I shouldn't have this. I just put it in the sheet. I just put it away. I'm like, oh no.
So, long story short, I'm retarded.
Cool.
In-
Yeah. All right.
Yep. So
You're in good
This
company.
happened. Yeah, this happened in the Marine Corps.
Why am I not surprised?
This was in the schoolhouse. We kept getting in trouble. We had like a terrible class, and so everybody kept getting put on restriction, and it was just this whole big thing. And so, because we had this one little barracks bunny, they kept running over to the recon barracks to get boned out. The whole company gets put on restriction for, I can't remember what holiday it was. It was in '96, right? And so, me and my roommates, we had 3 other guys, right? So 4 of us into a room, classic Marine Corps. And we would get like so bored over these weekends because it was like every single weekend we were in trouble. We couldn't leave, couldn't do anything, right? So we started making these YouTube videos of doing random things and like scripting them out, and just like we didn't have shit else to do, right?
Right.
And so for this one video, we had like 4 days to do this, right? Like, oh, I have an idea. We're going to do like a mock survival video. Like we're going to like wake up in the woods. We're not going to know where we are. This is North Carolina, by the way. We're not going to know where we are. And the spoof of it is that we're gonna have everything we could ever possibly need, like best case scenario, like having a literal box of like Lucky Charms in your backpack, right? So I had bought this knife. This is where this ties in. I bought this knife off eBay or something like that, and it was this huge, like oversized K-bar thing. It was so dull you couldn't cut yourself if you tried. I mean, I tried like stabbing this thing into my, like, I think it was into like the barracks door or whatever, because they're all wood and stuff. And like it, I mean, just left like a big old triangle in the door. Like it was so dull, right? Didn't have a tip on it. It was just like just a prop knife, right? Like no big deal. Jeez, and I bought it because it looked cool. I probably paid like $10 for it, right? And so I was like, oh, perfect. I'll take this knife with me on mine, and as we go out to the woods to do this little video, right? And so we're out there, and keep in mind we'd gone. If you guys have ever been to North Carolina before, or South Carolina for that fact, 20 feet into the tree line, like you can't tell which way you came in, right? It's just super, super dense. And so like we didn't have to go far, right? Just, 25 feet into the tree line, and we're secluded. And so for one of the scenes, I was supposed to throw, I promise the story's going somewhere. I was supposed to throw this knife into the tree and like have it stick. And, and then like, so the camera's going to be like on the tree. The knife goes whoosh into the tree. Then it pans over and I'm standing 2 feet away from the tree. Right. So that's kind of like the spoof of it. And so I practiced. Okay, cool. Got the knife throwing down from 2 feet away. And it's like, all right, action time. So my buddy's got the camera on the tree. And I'm like, all right, so like I got to throw it like nice and good on this one to, whoosh, right into the tree. And something I didn't notice was this knife had a lanyard on it. And I happened to be wearing, I'm sure you're very familiar with these, like the motorcycle gloves that have like the carbon fiber knuckles and stuff in them. For some reason I had a pair of those. Like YLAX made a set. And so like me being a boot was like, oh, that's cool. I'll buy some of those. So I can like punch Terry Taliban in the face. I'm gonna punch Osama bin Laden. Let's go, guys. Yeah. So I was wearing those gloves. This knife has a lanyard on it. I'm getting ready to, yeet this right into the tree as hard as I can. And as I'm holding it, this little lanyard falls down over my wrist. I don't notice. And so I throw this knife at the tree as hard as I can. The knife, goes, out, right? Extends out, lanyard catches on the glove and the knuckle guard, follows rotation of my arm down until it slides off of my hand, at which point hits me straight in the foot. I didn't know exactly what happened at first. It felt as if somebody dropped like a watermelon-sized rock on my foot, right? It hurt, but it was just like a really hard impact. And kind of did one of those like, some bitch, like dancing around, like that hurt. And I looked down and there's like 1.5 inches long cut in my boot. And there's one little drop of blood on the outside. And I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. And then as I'm standing there and me and my buddy are looking at each other and like looking at my foot, I can feel it getting hot, like hot and wet. And I'm like, I know what that is. Oh, no. And so I actually got really, really lucky. I have a picture of it. I'll send it to you guys so you guys can include it in like the art for the episode or something. But so here's
yes.
I almost lost the whole big toe. It barely missed the bone, like barely missed the bone. And
that's rough.
Yeah. So
what a way to live, man.
Yeah, pretty gnarly. So like that whole inside part of my big toe was like totally like numb. I don't feel anything. It like cut all the nerves. And to make this like story even better was that, I'm kind of like, I got a pretty decent bleed going on. And it's like, they told us like in like, medical training and boot camp, they're like, oh, you can take your belt off and use it as a tourniquet. So we're like, okay, let's try that. Right. Because of course we didn't have any tourniquets or anything like that.
Worth a shot. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Like screw it. Right. Like we're in the woods. We got a bunch of sticks. We got a knife and, and a belt. So we go and try to like make a tourniquet out of this. Didn't work at all. Right. Terrible.
Or be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in some, you might be able to make it work one way or another, but the belt was it was too thick, right? Too sturdy. It wouldn't like bend. Yeah. And we tried like ratcheting down. It would not ratchet down and tighten up. Anyways, long story short, right? So I have a good sense of direction and I know like which way, hey, we came in from that way, right? Like right there, no problem. But in my current state of kind of, right, I'm getting a little tunnel vision and stuff. And I don't remember which way we came in. And my buddy Lopez that was helping me out doing this filming, he had no idea which way we came in. So he calls our other roommate, who is a guy that just hung out in bed all day long. Like he was like, we'd get done with whatever we were doing. He'd come back, strip down to his boxers, whoop, straight up onto the top bunk. And he was there till tomorrow morning. Right. Nice guy, kind of weird. Right. We all have those guys. And so my buddy Lopez calls this guy's name is Riggs. Shout out to my homies if you guys are listening. Probably not, but hopefully. Right. So, hey, Riggs, McKagren's down, right? He got hurt. He got cut. Like, we need you. So Riggs, being the swell dude that he is, he's like, I'm on my way. Right. So by the time
I'm on my way,
savage.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, then Lope was like, hands me the phone. And it's like, give him directions. And so I'm like, yeah, man, like just go out the barracks door and just like head straight into the trees. You're going to run right into us. So by the time like I hang up the phone, here comes Riggs barreling through the trees.
Nice.
Right. He comes, he's a big old tall dude too, super skinny. Yeah. He comes barreling in and he's wearing his boots, socks, and boxers. That's it.
What a
and
friend.
Like me and me and Lopez were like looking at him like, you couldn't put pants on? Like, I didn't say I was dying. And they're like, well, you said you were in trouble. And they're like, whatever. Right. Thanks for being here. So he throws me over his shoulder, fireman carry, except one little detail. He forgot which way he had just come in. So land navigation is important, gentlemen. This is where this comes in. So
I love this story so much.
This just keeps getting better and better.
This is awesome.
So
better than any dad joke.
No kidding, man. Seriously. So I'm like over
Your
like Riggs'
lore is
back.
astounding,
Right.
By the way. Sorry, continue.
I got a nickname out of this one. They called me Bear Girls in medical for like months.
Nice.
But so anyways, yeah, I'm over Riggs' back and they're like, mush that way. Right. And I'm like, yay, okay, cool, we're moving. And so they're just going and going and going. And then like there's like a creek crossing, then there's like a marsh. And at some point I'm gonna like, wait, we're going the wrong way. We didn't cross a marsh to get here. Like it was right there. Right. And so we pop out somewhere. I don't even know where we were. I'm pretty sure we went like just kept going straight the way they originally came in and then like went all the way across like the whole woods section and then popped down on base somewhere else. And so like, okay, we bust through like, Marine Corps buildings, yay. And so like I get dumped off on the ground and Lopez, like, I can't remember which one. There's probably Lopez, like sprints off to go look for the duty, right? The guy
with pants.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the one with pants. It would probably be even better if Riggs didn't have pants on, or if Riggs was the one that ran off. So anyways, takes off, finds the duty. He comes back and some staff sergeant, he is pissed, right? It's his weekend. He's got weekend duty. He's pissed already, or, weekend holiday duty. And he's pissed, right? So then here comes a bunch of friggin' jackasses, right? And one of them's like naked. And so he comes over and he's like, what happened? What's going on? Why don't you have any pants on? And So give him a rundown of what happened, and he, I need to go to medical, and he's like, well, it's a holiday, there is no medical. That means you're going to the hospital, and he's like, I'm not calling you an ambulance. I'm like, unless I see blood, and I'm like, trust me, there's so blood. Yeah, it's in there, and he was like, I ain't doing shit till I see some blood, and I was like, okay,
all right.
So I mean, that's fair, right?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. So cut the laces off my boot, and I like pull it off, and as soon as it breaks the heel, blood is just pouring out of my boot. He was like, okay, all right, I'm going. He sprints off to go call an ambulance and stuff. So I got an ambulance ride out of it. I go to the civilian hospital in my camis because, again, we're on restriction. We can't be having any fun. And like I got like this super like bloody leg. My foot's all up in there. Like, so I got all kinds of looks from all the civilians and whatnot, just like hanging out in the ER, waiting to get stitched up. So yeah, this turned into, oh my God, the investigations. Like it went from like just a couple of dudes trying to entertain themselves to like literally months long of investigations, going to the CO's office every day, going to see first sergeant, going to medical, going to, oh my God. So anyways, that was my knife story.
Long story short, you were the reason why your guys got a freaking safety brief. Yeah. You're the cause of the safety brief.
I was gonna say, how's it feel to have a safety brief under your belt?
Honestly, I kind of forgot about that. But yeah, there was definitely a safety brief update after that incident of
love it.
Part of the whole thing with like the BS of this was that so they searched my bag that I had with me because I'm a boot. Of course, I have a bag, right? A backpack. Yeah. And so they search it, and inside they find this big old knife, right? Because I'm a good Marine. Keep accountability in my gear. You don't leave crap in the field. So I took my knife with me. And so they find this big old knife, which apparently is illegal to have in North Carolina because it's too big, like the blade's too long. Even though, so they're threatening to like charge me with that. But then I came back and I was like, hey, like you sell the exact same size K-bar at the gas station here on base. Like, you going to get rid of those? Or, I know guys that buy those all the time. It's a knife and it says USMC on it. Like, of course they're going to buy it. So they're like, all right. So they, toss that one out the window. But they found an airsoft gun in it, which again, like to me, like it's an airsoft gun. Like who cares, right? They care. Let me tell you, they care.
It's the last three letters. That's all they care about.
Yep. So yeah, there's like I said, there was just investigations out the wazoo on this, and all of it to come away with like an Article 15, or no, not the Article 15, the page 11 is what it was, right? Like administrative action, right? Like they essentially, it's funny because there was like literal documentation of like, this guy is dumb, right? That's like what Marine Corps conclusion, dummy, right? If they would have said like a retard, I would not like complain. I'd be like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. And they said, hey, don't do that again. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure being retarded or dumb is like a mandatory thing at MEPS for the Marines. Like you got to be, otherwise you can't be a Marine.
Don't be rude to our guest.
No, I've admitted this like 6 times on the podcast. I'll be the first one to tell you.
It's a rude.
My wife calls it my superpower.
That's so rude in the sweetest way.
I love it.
I know. It's called the backhanded compliment. And I go, thank you. Yeah. Okay.
My wife's just like, you're just so. Yeah. Like,
well, 3 words.
You couldn't think of anything nice to say. You didn't say anything, so fair enough.
Yep.
3 words when somebody does something stupid. Bless.
Do it again.
Heart.
Oh.
Yep.
That too. Do it again. But bless your heart.
I was wrong.
You are so stupid. Bless your heart.
Oh,
God bless
I love Texas. I love Texas. Well, that's all I got for our show notes on gunsmithing. We touched on
a nice long rant. on medical
did.
procedures in the field.
That's the
I
fun
love-
part.
That's what the rants are for.
Yep.
No, but I mean, we touched on, just like, tools, workspace, knowledge, confidence, what, theoretically you can do. Did you have any last thoughts on just basic gunsmithing? We're not going to get into the ins and outs and everything because we're, audio only, but anything else you can think of? Any last thoughts?
If you are trying to solve a problem and you are testing components, change as little as possible, or change one component at a time. Right? Variables. Keep variables as limited as possible. If you're trying to, keep everything as control as possible and just change one thing at a time. Right? Don't do swap gnostics with everything. One at a time. That would be my advice. Same thing with like reloading, right? Don't change 3 things. Change one thing and that's it. Right? Keep everything else the same.
Keep it simple.
Yep. Keep it as simple as possible. And don't overthink it.
Cool.
It's probably something stupid. It's probably something stupid. Right? Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Paint your damn guns.
Paint them.
And lube your guns. Or I will come around and spit in them.
Don't throw me with a good time. 6.
Hey,
Last thoughts.
you got it before I do. Before I could.
I'll spit in
fine,
your
I'm
door
gonna go paint my
anytime.
freaking guns. Stay tuned. I'm gonna
Yes.
paint my guns.
Good
Your
boy.
guns. Prove it on Instagram or you're a liar.
Okay.
No balls.
No,
Seems
no
like it's
balls. You
free
won't
time.
do it. Or you won't. Manchester.
Oh, I get to punch you in the face the next time I see you. It's gonna be great.
You'll need to come down then. Oh, my last thoughts. Your gun is made of glass. It's a
There you go.
tool.
That's a good one.
Treat it like a tool. Don't be afraid to to use it, to maintain it, to use trial and error. Like you said, Chris, this is a weapon of war. What do you have your gun for? Is it supposed to sit in a safe, or is it supposed to kill things? Give it the respect it's due.
Yep.
I like it.
That being said, guys, we are the Hard Time Shaman podcast, sharing up a better class of me and talking about some basic gunsmithing with Chris from Granite Rifle Group. You want to give us your socials and all your links again, brother?
Sure. So the main website is graniteriflegroup.com. You can pick up optics, rifles, and read about, kind of my start into all of this. And the Instagram is going to be granite_rifle_group_LLC. Hopefully you just have to write Granite Rifle and then it should pop up. If you're needing help getting into long range shooting, you want to know primarily where are some places to shoot, check out the long range ambassadors on Instagram as well. That will help you connect to local ambassadors in your area. But we don't have a whole lot right now. The program is still kind of building. It's pretty slow right now, but that's okay. I prefer grassroots. So right now we have guys in Arizona, Kentucky. I haven't solidified somebody for Wyoming, but there's somebody in Wyoming that I could defer you to. And I believe there might be 1 or 2 of the states that I'm not thinking about. But so if you, or let's also flip side, if you would like to be an ambassador for your state, by all means, follow, reach out, let's have a conversation, do a little interview, make sure we're all on the same page, and then we'll get you set up to be the ambassador for your state. So the whole point, of this project is so that people can get on the Instagram and say, oh, I live in Alabama, right? They select Alabama. Okay, here's the ambassador for Alabama. Go follow them, go talk to them, and they help you find places to shoot, help you answer questions, and you have a on-the-ground resource for your area. The last one is going to be the Delayed Impact podcast. This is, a brand new podcast coming out here. the page is up. We got one episode currently, technically, I think 2 episodes in the bank, and hopefully more coming. So the focus of that podcast is just going to be talking about long range shooting, and hopefully having some customers on the on the podcast as well to talk about their journey as a rifleman, their journey into long range shooting, from somebody who's actually going through it, not just somebody who's been around for a long time and yada yada yada. So that's what I got going on, and yeah, I think that's it. Go shoot your guns. Go paint them. Go spit in them.
Hell yeah.
On
Spin them immediately. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. And guys, thank you for listening. As always, stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.
Raw.
Hey guys, this is 6 and 7 with the Hard Time Strongman podcast. Wanted to take a second to do a mental health check-in and to tell you all about the 988 Crisis Lifeline. So the 988 Lifeline is a national network of local crisis centers that provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the United States. You can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text 988 to get help, to get someone real on the phone.
Every struggle is different. Every struggle is hard. But you are not alone in whatever you're going through. As someone who has used the 988 crisis line, I fully recommend that if you're feeling any of those feelings of depression, suicide, hopelessness, get in touch with them immediately. They will help you. They will listen to you.
Once again, guys, you can reach the Lifeline at 988lifeline.org, or you can call or text them at 988. As always, guys, stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight.